I was getting a haircut and I told the barber about what I do with video, and he had said that he would love to get into video as well, but he just feels intimidated by it. He doesn't even know where to start. And it sparked a memory in my head about the way that I felt when I first started as well. So now that I'm this deep into it and I've learned so much, I feel like I want to share my knowledge with you, with him, with anyone else who wants to start in video. Now, I know a lot of you know a lot about what I'm already gonna talk about, but just chill out because there's a lot of new people that come and they're probably interested and also feeling the same way that I felt, that you felt, and that barber felt. Nice to meet you. I'm Joe with the Film Alliance, your life coach and confidant. So whatever you say in the comments stays on this channel. If you feel like you need to get some stuff off of your chest, then you will get a free life coaching lesson from either me or some of the upperclassmen that belong to this academy. So say whatever it is about camera gear that's giving you a worried mind or a heavy heart. I forgot to mention it does cost one like. So for me, I remember when I started out and I didn't even know what anything was about the camera. I saw all these buttons on the outside of the camera and I wanted to know it, but just looking down that journey seemed to be so daunting. And for me, it was just like, you know what? I'll just press record, turn it to program auto, and hope for the best. And although I got some good shots with that, it wasn't the best practice. I wish and I wanted to get shots like other people were getting, and I knew I could do it, but there is a big learning curve when it comes to videography. But don't worry, I'm gonna make it easy and let you know that it is a smooth transition as long as you apply yourself, and I'm gonna explain to you how I was able to get to where I am today, and also some of the things that I wish I knew when I was in your shoes. If you follow these steps, I promise you, you will be well on your way to upping your game in video. If you stay until the end, I'll share with you my most important tip that I have learned that has really helped up my game. I know there's a lot of you that are new to video, or maybe you want to jump into video, and it might not just be somebody who's doing it as a hobby on YouTube or doing it for professional work, but somebody who owns like a small business who wants to start marketing their business better and not just using their iPhone, but to get some of those really good videos so you get more shares and that becomes reach. Or maybe you're just doing this as a hobby and you want to learn how and what you need to do in order to become a better videographer. The first thing I have for you is to get a decent camera. It doesn't have to be anything crazy expensive. It could be under $1,000, but not your iPhone. Something that actually is made specifically for filmmaking and videography. I know when I first started out, I couldn't really tell the big difference between the image quality from an iPhone compared to like a really good DSLR, but it was definitely there. And as I've grown, I started to understand the differences, and I could tell and I could see differences. But people who watch your videos out there do notice. So if you have the budget to pick up a camera, I highly recommend it. I'm not one to say, oh, just use your iPhone camera. Yes, just use your iPhone camera if that's all you have. But if you have a budget, or if you have a savings, or if you have goals, then I would say start saving up for a decent camera. All right, so now you have a camera, you saved up for it, you did all the hard work. Now it's time to learn your camera. Learn your camera inside and out. Go through that menu system, go through the buttons, set up custom buttons on the outside of the camera. Learn by muscle memory where all the buttons are so you don't have to constantly look and search for the buttons and whatever it is that you're trying to do. Set up shortcuts in your function menu and just learn your camera. Instead of looking at your smartphone at night, pull out the camera and try to just study it and learn it like an instrument. Next, I would tell you to learn exposure. You don't have to become an expert in exposure, but just get a basic understanding, knowing how all of the different things work inside your camera. That way you can fix the things that are wrong when you look at the image through your display and you don't get home and you're like, oh man, I wish that the background was more blurry, or I wish the image wasn't so noisy. I made a video about exposure and I will leave that in the description, and that takes you from knowing nothing about exposure to having a very good understanding of exposure. So I highly recommend you watch that video if you are lost when it comes to exposure. Next is to get a good video editing software. I use Final Cut Pro. I've been using it for over 5 years. And I just think it's outstanding. But you can use Premiere Pro, LumaFusion, whatever it is out there, something other than a basic app that you can use in your iPhone, because you really want to have control over your video edits after you've gotten that great video. Next is to get a better audio system set up, and it can be something as cheap as an iPhone voice recording. Just put it close to your mouth, somewhere off screen, and then you can just sync the audio with your camera audio in post-production. The reason I say this is because native mics inside of cameras are pretty good, but they're not as good as if you have a mic really close to your mouth. And if you listen to the difference between the two, a lot of times the camera mics just seem to have a louder noise floor. But if you use something like an iPhone sound recording or the wire that goes from your iPhone, you know, clips onto your shirt right here. That way you're getting a nice clean audio, and that really will take your audio to the next level, because nobody really wants to hear all the stuff that's in the background, like the washing machine, the dishwasher, the refrigerator hum. Those type of things get picked up if your mic is too far away from the source of audio. And that's another thing. Just go ahead and turn off all of those things and try to get into an environment that's nice and quiet. The next tip I have for you, and something that's really helped my videos improve, is to get my framing right. Make sure that there's negative space on the outside of your subject. Don't put your head in the middle of the frame. Keep it kind of where it is right now, as you see in this video. Make sure that you're not getting cut off by the top, or your sides aren't getting cut off. Try to keep the camera back a little bit. Look what's in the background. Make sure that your camera is nice and horizontal. And I'm just talking about a headshot. When you're out there and you're shooting B-roll and stuff like that, just get your framing right. Just learn some basic principles on framing, and that will help you in your video journey. If you're moving with the camera, then get yourself a gimbal. So many times I've seen people try to go handheld with the camera, and they'll get home, and even I did this, and realize like I can't even use any of this footage because the stabilization inside of cameras, at least up until this point, isn't that great. But when you throw a camera on a gimbal, your footage becomes super silky smooth, and it really makes your videos look professional, or something that you might see in a movie. And nowadays gimbals are affordable. Back when I started, gimbals were super expensive, but nowadays you can get gimbals for cheap, like maybe a couple $100 that can hold your decent camera. Once you start to get better cameras and bigger cameras, then you'll have to start investing in bigger gimbals. But for now, if you just get a small little point and shoot or APS-C camera, then all you'll need is a nice cheap little gimbal. The next thing I have for you, which I wish I knew about when I first started, is go with a good music licensing app. I can't tell you how many times music has really helped take the awkward feeling out of a video just by adding some good music. It gives it a better flow, and it kind of just fills in some of those blank spots. I have Artlist and Envato Elements. I'll leave affiliate links in the description. You guys can check that out to see which ones you like better. And my final tip for this video, something that I wish I would have known from the beginning, and something that has really helped me take my videos to the next level, is getting organized. What's the purpose of your video? What problems are they gonna solve for someone? Why is someone gonna wanna watch your video rather than do something else? And once I started to plan my videos and started to think about it well in advance before I even pressed the record button, I really saw my videos improve, and I think that makes the difference between beginners and intermediate videographers. Another thing that comes with organization is setting goals. Set a goal that you wanna have a certain video that you thought about and you've already planned out. You wanna have that done by the end of the week, and just make it happen. So many times people have this great idea about making a video and they just never come around because either they're intimidated by it or they feel like they don't have enough time to do it. But the people that really get things done are say, I'm gonna have this done by the end of the week or by the end of the month. I'm gonna have one video a week, or I'm gonna have 2 videos a week, whatever it is that you can do and you can manage. Just have goals. And if you don't make them, don't just brush it off. Hold yourself accountable so that you can really push yourself to do it the next week. A creator without goals is like a car without a steering wheel. You have the drive, but you don't really know where you're going. So just make sure you're setting goals. Another subcategory of staying organized is keeping your camera bag clean. And that just means keeping everything in one place. Don't have it scattered all over the place so that when you really need it, you can't find it. Keep it all organized. And another thing that comes with that is making sure your actual camera is clean, because you don't want to go out and record a long video and then inadvertently forget or not look at your lens and see that there's a huge smudge on it, and now you have a video that just doesn't look clean and clear. So I always make sure that everything that I own, camera gear related, is nice and clean. Another subcategory of staying organized is keeping your batteries always charged. So after you go out for a shoot, the first thing that I do when I come home is I plug in my batteries and I offload my SD card. That way, by the time I'm done offloading all that stuff and maybe a couple hours go by, my batteries are ready to go, so I can just grab my camera bag and run out the door. I'm definitely guilty in the past of not doing that and getting out to a shoot and realizing that I only have 20% on my battery, which might be like 5 minutes of record time, and it's definitely not enough. And I'm just like, dang it. So now I've learned when I get home, the first thing I do is plug in the batteries to start charging again. Sorry, there's one more subcategory to staying organized, and that's making sure that your SD cards are always formatted and ready to go in your camera so that when you run out the door, you don't show up to the set and realize that you only have 10 minutes of record space when you need about 20 minutes, and then you find yourself in a bad situation. Now, I also recommend that you pick up a second SD card that you can keep in your camera bag in case that happens. But it's always best to have a nice formatted SD card in your camera so that you have as much space as you need to go out and record. Just make sure that you've offloaded those videos before you format that SD card so you don't leave me a nasty comment in the comment section. So that's it. Those are all the things that I've learned over the years, and I wanted to share my experiences with you in case you're feeling a little intimidated about starting in the videography world or filmmaker. Believe me, it is the most rewarding thing that you could ever get into. It really helps you become creative and taps into another side of you that you didn't even know existed. So would I recommend it to anyone and everyone? It really depends on the amount of tenacity you have to stick with it, because there's so many times that you're gonna feel frustrated and you're gonna feel like you fell short, or your video doesn't look as good as you want it to, or as good as the person on YouTube. But don't worry, just stick with it. There's a lot of us that come and go because they just can't handle it, but the ones who stick with it are the ones who really see and reap the rewards. I'm Joe with the Film Alliance, and I hope this video helped you. Until the next video, have a nice day.